Here, Beddoes. We're helping, we're coming.
This is the closest thing I can find to concrete evidence of the paranormal. EVPs, or electric voice phenomena, are audio recordings of spirits or ghosts. These are three of the most compelling EVPs I've ever heard. This first EVP was captured in an unconventional way, but it is truly some of the best evidence that I've ever seen. This is police body cam footage captured in Spanish Fork, Utah. They arrived on scene at the Spanish Fork River where a car had crashed into the river and was quickly filling with water. The accident happened at 10:30 p.m. on March 5th, and the car wasn't found until about 9 hours later at noon the next day. From inside the car, the rescuers heard a woman crying for help. But the only person alive inside of that car was an 18-month-old baby. Her mother had been dead for several hours at the time of the rescue. Here's the footage.
Here, Beddoes. We're helping, we're coming. Here, get down here and re-entry and flip it. Here, Beddoes. We're helping, we're coming.
So you actually heard a voice calling out, "Help me." Do you know who that was?
You know, at first we didn't know if it was someone inside the car, if it was what that voice was. We assumed, or I assumed, that it was someone in the car saying, "Help me." That's why we responded saying, we're trying, we're going to get inside and help you, we're doing the best we can. And that was just extra motivation and to get inside the car and figure out who was in there. It wasn't until after we flipped it that we saw the mother, who we know now was deceased at the time, and the child was in the back seat. And so it wasn't until after the early process and we got together and we all heard the same, voice.
This next EVP came from Reddit, and honestly, it choked me up. User Tenzin Alexander posted this video with the title "Audio Evidence of the Spirit of My Brother." He wrote, "To make a long story short, my brother and I made a sacred bond to try and contact each other if one of us was to suddenly pass away. I thought my brother crossed over because I haven't heard from him in several weeks. I said out loud with the recorder in my hand in my garage where he passed away, 'I don't think you're around anymore.' I then rewound it and was completely taken aback, hearing his voice clear and loud as day.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
This final recording is pretty well known. This audio was shared on a radio show called Coast to Coast AM by the credible paranormal investigation group called Ghost Investigators Society. They captured this horrifying audio in an old mental institution called the Exchange Building. Here's the recording, along with some backstory from the investigator.
Everybody was sitting outside at the time this was recorded, and it sat there silent for about 7 minutes. And then all of a sudden, after about 7 minutes, you hear what can only be described as a child, and followed by the child, you hear an older man, and then the child again, and the child keeps going on and on.
This was recorded again in a completely empty room.
Yes.
And there's no chance that conversation going on outside that room by any of you or anybody else could have been what we're about to hear.
Oh, no, definitely. And for one, it is, to me, definitely a child. The other odd thing is, for about 15 to 20 seconds at the end of this recording, you hear water, and you hear it splashing and splashing back and forth, and almost a thrashing sound. And then you're going to hear a thud, and the sound just dies. You hear nothing else after that.
How do you interpret that splashing and thrashing?
To me, listening to this over and over and over again, and this is what really bothers me, Barbara and I and the rest of the GIS had a big debate on whether this should even be included in the show, because I thought it was almost too disturbing to play. But to me, it sounds like what you're hearing is a kid saying, "Help me, I can't breathe, I couldn't breathe." And
a child drowning is what you think?
Yeah. I mean, I can't take it any other way. Sounds like a child being murdered.
All right, let's let everybody decide for themselves. Here it is.
Have you ever seen or heard something that you couldn't explain? Feel free to share your stories in the comments.